Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Lizon from Lifestyle Integration, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some vital information if you have any thyroid problems and if you're on medication, but possibly hoping that there might be a way that you could come off of that medication. So if any of these situations apply to you, please listen to the entire video because it's going to take me a while to explain what I want to do, and it's such important information I don't want to overlook anything that might compromise your health decisions. Wouldn't you want to know if there was a way to come off of thyroid medication? And if the information was already out into the public literature, the scientific literature, wouldn't you want to know about that? Well, the reality is there are studies that show exactly how to get people off of thyroid medication, but they're just not being applied. They often say it takes about 10 years for the clinical research to get into actual practice and into the hands of the endocrinologists and GPs that control the medication of thyroid problems. Now, I want to say right up front, before I explain the study and the way you can possibly fix the issue to come off of thyroid medication, right up front I want to make a disclaimer saying I'm not telling you to come off of your medication. I'm sharing information about the studies that I've found that show how they were able to get people off of medication, and I'm also sharing what I would do personally if I was on thyroid medication and wanted to see if there was a possibility that I could come off of the medication. So I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not telling you to come off your medication. It can be dangerous. These decisions are up to you and your family doctors. So let's get back to this study that I'm talking about. The study was done a few years ago, and it was published in Lasers of Medical Science, and I've got the study right here, and I'm going to show it up on the board through here. It's called Low-Level Laser in the Treatment of Patients with Hypothyroidism Induced by Chronic Autoimmune Thyroiditis, a randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial. That's the key, people. Randomized, placebo-controlled trial. This is a gold standard when we look at medical literature. The gold standard has been applied to this paper, and it is an absolute gem of a paper. So they're talking about using low-level laser therapy, LLT, and that's the application of near-infrared. So don't let there be any mistake. When you read this paper, if you get it for yourself, they're talking about the application of near-infrared and how the application of that to the thyroid was able to get people off the medication. Let's look at the study a little bit now.
So let's have a look at the study. Here you can see the actual abstract, the first page of the study. And what I would encourage absolutely everyone to do is to get their hands on a copy of this. You're going to want to read it for yourself, whether you fully understand the language or not, so that you can understand the pros and the cons, what they were able to accomplish and what they were not able to accomplish. So for example, one of the conclusions is that they were able to get 48% of people off of medication and not have to have them go back on medication for at least 9 months after the cessation of the near-infrared. You're going to want to look at who the patients were. Where did they come from? What were their ages? How long had they had Hashimoto's or autoimmune problems and thyroid problems? So there's a lot of variables that will go into this study, but you'll be able to research this, find it, and have a look at it for yourself so that you can be constructive in your criticism. Let's look at the design of the study, though. Here's the actual study design. And what they did is they measured the level of hormones in the patients first. This would make sense. You can see here T3, T4, the free T4, TSH, as well as the antibodies, the autoantibodies to some of those issues with the thyroid. And they did blood tests and they did ultrasound. So they were very thorough in how they assessed the thyroid gland. Then the intervention came here, where they applied either the near-infrared through the laser or a placebo, meaning it was a laser but the person didn't know the difference whether it was an active one or an inactive one. And they applied that for a full 5 weeks. It was, I believe, a few times, 2 or 3 times a week. You'd have to read the paper to check to see how often they did that, but they applied the therapy for 5 weeks. They then waited 30 days, so there was no more intervention, and they were still on thyroid medication for 30 days, and then you can see that they withdrew the thyroid hormone at that point. Then what they did, and you can see as we move down this graph here, is at 30 days and 60 and 90, 180 and 270 days, they retested for all of those hormones and antibodies. And if there were issues where the levels were not going according to plan, they would then reintroduce the thyroid medication. But as I said, the ultimate conclusion is that 48% of the people in this study were able to come off and stay off of the thyroid medication for at least the 270 days. That's a pretty stunning result, and it does make sense because there has to be multiple reasons. We're all unique individuals. We've all got different chemistry. Some of us will be a little more toxic than others. In the thyroid gland, there's a lot of problems with mercury toxicity, copper overload, selenium deficiencies, these sorts of things. So it would make sense that near-infrared is not going to be a miracle fix for all of these issues, but it does strike at the root cause of what the problems are, and with the thyroid gland, I believe that to be energy. So what the near-infrared does a lot of things, and you can read other papers on it, but it helps the body to create more energy and remove some of the impediments. So there you go. You've had a good look now at the actual study. What I'd like to share with you now is how can you take this clinical information, which on the surface of it looks like you couldn't reproduce this at home. How can you take this and actually apply it in your home? And that's what I'll show you now.
So now that you know all about the study that's out there, and there are other studies by the way, let's talk now more about near-infrared and what you can do at home to help fix any thyroid problems that you might have. A bit about near-infrared first. Near-infrared has been shown over the last number of years to help with a very broad spectrum of conditions. It has actually been proven in the research again with these studies to help with things like depression, obviously thyroid problems, but even things like stopping and reversing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. That's in the research. There's a lot of research that shows how it can help with strokes, with inflammation and wound healing. NASA did original research into near-infrared for that reason alone, with wound healing while the astronauts would be in space. It actually even helps with things like conditioning your skin to prevent ultraviolet damage. I've got lots of videos on YouTube, and you can go to our website at www.nirsauna.com.au for all of our blogs and our information. But the research is out there that near-infrared works, and it works incredibly well for a broad spectrum of things. So how can it help with so many different things? The reality is the near-infrared is getting into your cells, and it's getting into your mitochondria, and it's producing energy. It's improving healing. And it works not just directly on the thyroid gland, for example, but a lot of the research is showing there's an indirect stimulation effect, meaning you can apply the near-infrared to remote areas in the body, and it still has an effect on the target tissue, such as the thyroid gland. So I want to explain for you today how you can use near-infrared at home to get the benefits, potential benefits, that we're speaking about. Because let's be honest, we can't all go out and get lasers. They're just not financially viable, and we're not able to go out and get lasers. So we need a way to apply near-infrared. How? And the answer is near-infrared lamps. These are lamps like a Philips 250-watt red infrared bulb that you can purchase at your hardware store. And you purchase these lamps and you use them at home. There is a slight difference to the lasers though. The near-infrared, let's be perfectly clear, is exactly the same. It's the spectrum of light from roughly, I believe it's from roughly about 600 nanometers to 1,000 nanometers. That's a spectrum of light that covers near-infrared. So the near-infrared is the same, but the laser was targeted at a single frequency. 830 nanometers is what the laser was tuned into to work on the thyroid gland. We need a way to apply the near infrared. So when we use these lamps, as you can see up here, there is a spectrum, a wavelength spectrum. So we have done some calculations to try to figure out how to get enough of the wavelengths around that 830 nanometers and with the wattage of bulbs that we use and come up with a treatment protocol. And we're looking to actively test this. And we're having difficulty in getting GPs and medical doctors to come on board and test this with their patients, but it is something that we're looking to do. However, in the interest of sharing information, let's go through what your options are on how you might be able to work on your thyroid problems with near infrared lamps today. So the goal will be to mimic the actual study. And in the study, if you recall, they were applying lasers directly to the thyroid. One option that you have at home is to use a single bulb and direct it at the thyroid gland. So you would simply want to have a unit such as this, and you use one of these 4 bulbs that are on here. And you have the bulb 60 centimeters away from the thyroid gland, and you apply it for 20 minutes. You would apply that to the thyroid gland approximately 5 times per week for 5 weeks. After 5 weeks, you wait 30 days, and then you can remove the thyroid medication according to the study. Again, I'm not telling you that this will work with you, because if you remember in the study, it worked on approximately 50% of the patients. I personally believe that a better approach will be to use all 4 lamps. And the reason for this is because of the indirect stimulation of near infrared that we spoke about earlier. Yes, you want to have the top bulb here shining directly at the thyroid, but you're also going to want to have these other 3 bulbs directing at the body itself for the indirect action of the near infrared. But the application process is the same. 5 weeks, 60 centimeters away, approximately 5 times per week for 20 minutes. Those are the criteria based on the calculations that we made off of the study to ensure that you're getting the right amount of near infrared. Just a couple of other points about the portable near infrared sauna unit that I was just showing you previously. The actual unit comes with a stand that you would then sit in front of. So it's already designed to be fully functional to help you with these particular issues. And we've been using the near infrared saunas for about 5 years in Australia. And the benefits and the positive effects that this can have on a person's overall health, let alone the thyroid gland, are absolutely stunning. Now, one other point that I would like to just clarify is the actual study was saying they applied the laser, the near infrared, for 5 weeks, then stopped the laser therapy for a month before withdrawing the medication. That's the study. My instinct is that the actual near infrared will probably be beneficial to continue to apply after the initial 5 weeks, but of course more research and just digging a little bit deeper is going to need to be done. So there you have it. That is clearly laid out for people what the research is showing when it comes to trying to help people that have thyroid problems get off their medication. There are ways you can apply the near infrared at home, as we've simply shown you with the portable near infrared sauna, or a single lamp as well. I hope this has been tremendously beneficial for you. What I really hope, what I truly hope, is that this video will get around to as many people as possible, and that if people decide that they're comfortable trying this for themselves, they take on the advice of their medical doctors and so on, if it's working for you, share, tell us, let us know what's working or what's not working so that we can continue to try to improve this protocol to see if it will help people with Hashimoto's and other chronic thyroid problems. So with that being said, I wish everyone great health. If you have any other questions, by all means, you can email us at info@lifestyleintegration.com.au. You can visit our sauna website at www.nirsauna.com.au, or you can visit our main website at lifestyleintegration.com.au. I will always get back to any emails and personal comments. Thank you.